I'm Alyssa, and today I'm showing you my very belated September 2018 favorites. I'm sorry that it's so late. I've kind of been dealing with depression and couldn't get myself to film it, but I finally was just like, buck up Alyssa, film this damn video, because there's some people out there that want to watch it. And you know what? I love making videos and it makes me happy and it's one of my favorite things to do, so why not film a favorites video and cheer myself the F up? I don't know why I started doing that. That's like a Twin Peaks thing, you know? If you've seen Twin Peaks, the old guy with the thumbs up and with the wink and the... Well, he doesn't really do the... I don't think. I can't remember. Anyway, let's get back on track. First up are the books I loved during the month of September. And the first book is The Enchanted by Renee Dinfeld. And this is one of the most beautifully written books I have ever read. And it deals with a very tough subject. It centers on three people who are all involved somehow with death row. And that's all I'm going to say because revealing more would spoil this wonderful story. But I absolutely devoured it and I couldn't get enough of it. The writing, like I said, is just stunning and it really propels you through the story. The magical realism elements didn't gel with me personally, but I know a lot of people love them. But overall, I am highly impressed with Renee Dinfeld as an author. I will definitely read her latest book whenever I can get my hands on it. But I highly recommend this if you're interested in reading about death row and just, you know, to get a new perspective on things. This is such a wonderful book. Secondly, I love the film adaptation, which I watched before this, but it's pretty different from the novel, so I don't feel that bad about not reading the novel beforehand. That's the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. Again, that's the longest name ever, but this is such a delightful novel. It's just as delightful as the movie. Again, they're pretty different. There are some similarities, but this novel is written all in letters and telegrams, and I just love Juliet Ashton. She is just such a fiery, sassy character. She knows exactly what she wants. She fights for what she wants, and I loved her journey of self-discovery in this novel, and I loved seeing her chronicle her meetings with and the personalities of the citizens of Guernsey. And I just loved everyone, and if you don't fall in love with Dawsey Adams in either the book or the film, I don't know what's wrong with you. He is like the perfect male character, and Juliet is just a spitfire, and it's just so warm and cheerful. If you need to pick me up, this is the book for you. And if you love historical fiction, definitely give this a read because it's just so well written and so endearing, and I can just gush about it forever. Now let's move on to the movies portion of the September favorites, which there are quite a few movies to go through, so let's just get started. I do watch a movie per day though, so if you want to follow me on Letterboxd and see what I watch and rate things that I don't cover on here, you can find that link in the description box down below. But the first movie I absolutely loved in September was Searching. This is in the veins of a movie like Unfriended, but it's so much better. This follows a man named David Kim who is played wonderfully by John Cho, and his daughter goes missing. So you see him going through Facebook, Facebook Messenger, Skype, etc., trying to find his daughter, talking to investigators, his family members, and trying to find clues, trying to find out where his daughter could have possibly gone, who she was hanging out with, etc. And it's just such a thrill ride. It's done so well. The technology part of this film was just pulled off superbly. It really feels like you're watching someone on a computer screen going through all the motions, which they actually did film someone doing everything on the computer, which just adds authenticity and makes it feel so real and so absorbing. And the mystery is so compelling. And this is a film I highly recommend. It's just so well done. And John Cho, put him in more movies please. He is phenomenal. Next one up is one that I just saw for the first time, and most people have already seen this and know it's a classic, but that is The Fly, the David Cronenberg version. I have not seen the original version, but the special effects still hold up today, which is true with most of Cronenberg's work. But I love Jeff Goldblum as Seth Brundle, and I love seeing him slowly transform into the Fly, how tragic it was, how his relationship with Gina Davis's character started to change, and it's just so wonderful. And I was surprised at how emotional it was and how much it tugged on my heartstrings, because I was fully just expecting it to be a body horror movie. I didn't realize it was also a romance film, a drama, and it just melds all these genres together so well, just like the Brundle Fly. And again, the makeup and the visual effects are outstanding. There's one moment that doesn't hold up where they use CGI, but otherwise the practical effects are still outstanding to this day. The next movie up is probably one most people haven't seen, and for me, I wouldn't have watched it if it hadn't been recommended by my friend Josh, but it's Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox. This is an animated film in the DCEU, and guys, this is better than most of the live-action DC movies. I'm not joking. This, of course, focuses on the Flashpoint Paradox, where the Flash accidentally changes time, and it sees two major heroes, which I won't spoil if you haven't seen the film or read the comic books. I don't actually know if it follows the comic books, to be honest, I haven't read them. But it follows two major heroes who become villains in this new Flashpoint era, and you see how they behave, and you see how Barry Allen has to fix things, and it's just so good. The animation is stunning. I'm really surprised at how gory this film is for being an animated film, and it's just so good. I loved hearing Nathan Fillion as Green Lantern. Oh my gosh, please cast Nathan Fillion as Green Lantern in Green Lantern Corps, please. He is just fantastic as Green Lantern, okay? I freaking love Nathan Fillion. Okay, that already raised it like half a point for me. But it was still an awesome movie, and I highly recommend you watch it if you're into DC but have been disappointed by their live action interpretation so far. Check out the Flashpoint Paradox because it's really good. Now the next two movies are part of a series, but first off, Batman Begins. This was the first time I had watched it, and I loved it. I loved the gritty, darker take on Batman. I loved Christian Bale as Batman. And I just love seeing the story. I thought Cillian Murphy killed it as Scarecrow, and I always loved seeing him pop up. And I love the Scarecrow sequences. And oh my gosh, the phone is ringing again. It only freaking rings when I'm filming. Yeah, I know, it's my 7 days call, okay? Get it over with. Okay, it's over. And the next movie is The Dark Knight. I know, shocker, but I loved it. I love Heath Ledger as the Joker. He knocked it out of the park. And I just love seeing the story continue from Batman Begins. I loved all the twists and turns the film took. I loved how dark Christopher Nolan again made this film. And I cannot wait to watch Dark Knight Rises. I know it's super long, but I'm so pumped after seeing Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. Next up is another movie I just watched for the first time that I feel like everyone else in the world has already watched and has considered a masterpiece, but that is Die Hard. I love this movie. It still holds up to this day. Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber is just perfect. Perfect! And to know that that was his first acting role in a major film, oh my dear lord. He's such a natural. But Bruce Willis is also just, I almost said the F word, but I'm trying not to curse in my videos that much. He's so great as John McClane. And of course, when you hear yippee-ki-yay, mother effer, it's just such an iconic moment. And it does spark the debate, is this a Christmas movie or not? Because it takes place at Christmas, and there are some lines that reference Christmas, but is it really a Christmas movie? I don't know, but it's a badass movie, I can tell you that. John McTiernan did such a great job directing Die Hard, and I do want to watch the other Die Hard films. I know they're not as good, but since this one was so amazing and great and action-packed and badass, I do want to check out the rest of the franchise and maybe be disappointed, but you know what? I'll do it anyway. The next movie up is one that I didn't expect to like as much as I did, and that is me being kind of a hater towards Paul Feig, the director, because I hated Bridesmaids. I know people are going to be like, oh my gosh, dislike. Bridesmaids is the funniest movie ever. It's not, okay? Especially if you're an emetophobe and you get to the food poisoning scene, okay? It's terrible. But I digress. Let's get back to A Simple Favor. This is not strictly comedic. It has comedic moments, but it's much more of a drama mystery film. Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively are great as mothers who become friends, and Blake Lively's character goes missing. That's not a spoiler. And Anna Kendrick's character Stephanie is trying to find Blake Lively's character Emily throughout the movie, and there are just so many twists and turns that kept me hooked. I loved the fashion in this film. I know most people don't care about that, but I love the fashion in the film. I liked the jokes that they had because most of them weren't infantile, they weren't immature. Most of them. There were a couple and I was just like, I don't like that kind of humor, okay? But for the most part, the jokes landed. I love the performances. I love the style. I love the mystery. I just really love this film, and I didn't expect to. So congratulations, Paul Feig, for changing my mind about you. And the last film I want to talk about is Won't You Be My Neighbor? This is the documentary about Mr. Rogers that Morgan Neville directed. And again, I wasn't a big fan of Mr. Rogers as a child. I actually found his shows pretty boring. But looking at the documentary as an adult, you can see the themes he was covering and how controversial that was during that time period and how brave he was for covering those topics. And I cried several times during this documentary because I was just like, oh my gosh, the themes he's covering, what he went through, it just broke me down. And this is such an expertly directed and curated documentary. I can applaud Morgan Neville more, but just so well done. And it will bring a tear to your eye. Even if you weren't a fan of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood as a kid, you will love this documentary because it just brings hope and optimism to this world that can sometimes be very sad and pessimistic. It's just a bright light. Now moving on to TV, the first show I loved, and again was surprised I loved, was Disenchantment. I am not a big fan of The Simpsons and never got to really watch Futurama besides a few episodes. But I really like Disenchantment, and I know most critics hated this show, but I liked it. I liked that it was a fantasy setting. I found most of the jokes funny. I didn't find them too immature. The art style is stunning, but also very reminiscent of The Simpsons and Futurama. And the voice acting was great. I love this show. It's very easy to go through. I need a second season after that season 1 ending. Like, come on, Matt Groening, please. Get a second season out soon. Netflix, greenlight this for a second season, please. Sister needs a second season of this amazing animated comedy that I didn't think I would love, okay? Okay? The next show is one that's kind of controversial, but I find it relatable, and that is Atypical. Atypical focuses on a teenage boy who is on the autism spectrum, and I just find it relatable. I find the character very relatable. I have a lot of the same quirks as him, not all of them, but some of them, and I just think it's a very well done show. I love the family dynamic and how it changes in season 2, and I love just the comedy in the series. It's very easy to fly through this. Each episode's about 30 minutes long. And all the actors are great, especially Jennifer Jason Leigh, but also Michael Rappaport. And it's just a warm, funny show. The next show up is You, which I'm kind of surprised it came out on Lifetime in the United States, but it came out on Netflix everywhere else. But I don't know what the logistics of that were. But this is a really good show. Don't brush this off because it's on Lifetime here. It's great. It hews pretty closely to the book, but I also think it's different enough from the book to stand on its own. But it stars Penn Badgley as Joe, the character who, throughout the entire series and the book, is referring to his object of affection, Beck, as you. He's constantly saying, you are blah blah blah. You da 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 da. Penn Badgley is perfect as Joe. He is charming and creepy kind of, but you're rooting for him. Elizabeth Lail is great as Beck. She is a newcomer, but she's so good as Beck. I love the supporting cast, including seeing Shay Mitchell pop up as Beck's best friend Peach. And it's a really good mystery. Even reading the book and knowing what's going to happen, I'm still loving seeing it being played out on TV, seeing how far they go, and they're going pretty far, to be honest. It's really good. It's really, really good, and if you haven't read the book, I think you'll enjoy it maybe a smidge more, but even if you've read the novel, you will love You if you like the novel. It's great. Penn Badgley again, perfect choice. Perfect choice for Joe, because in the book you root for him too, and Penn Badgley just makes him so relatable, and even though he's being creepy, you like him. The next one up is a show that I just finished both the seasons of, and that is The Handmaid's Tale. I love the novel, and it took me forever to watch this show, but I finally watched it and was absorbed. I was binge watching this, and it's just very topical, which is depressing, but it's so well done. Elizabeth Moss, Yvonne Strahovski, Joseph Fiennes are all great in this series. I loved how it diverted from the book in the second season, and also in the first season. There are some moments where it just went completely off book. I really enjoyed that, and it is a very tough show to watch. There are some moments that are sickening, that are very disturbing, but but it's a very important show and it's so well done. And the last show I loved in September was Maniac. This is a 10-episode limited series on Netflix directed by Cary Fukunaga and starring Jonah Hill, Emma Stone, and Justin Theroux. And it follows two people who sign up for a drug trial, and they take these 3 drugs, and it chronicles their experiences on each of the 3 drugs. And it's a batshit crazy show. You're seeing really trippy things in every episode. Every episode is a completely different experience, but it just works in a weird way. And it's so fascinating, and I loved it, and I loved the way it ended. I loved everything about it. I think Jonah Hill and Emma Stone were really, really great in this, and I highly recommend you watch it. Now, moving on to the last section, games. I actually have a few games to talk about. Which first up is Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which I've already done a review for this. If you'd like to see that, I'll have it in the iCard up above. But I freaking love this game. I love Tomb Raider. I love the rebooted trilogy. It's phenomenal. If you like games like Uncharted and you haven't played a Tomb Raider game yet, you can totally just get this one and dive in, but I do recommend playing from the first rebooted game. But I mean, you could technically just start with this game. It's great. It's really, really good. Next up is Donut County, which again, I did a review of this, so it will be linked in the iCard, and both will be linked down below in the description as well. But Donut County is a very soothing, relaxing game where you play as a hole, and you're sucking up this town. You start off by sucking up just rocks and blades of grass, and you work up to trash cans, then you work up to houses, then you work up to mountains. And there's a story that goes on 999 feet below the town that you're in, which reveals how the hole has come to be in this town and why everything's getting sucked up. It's very funny. There is no spoken dialogue. You have to read all the dialogue, but it's hilarious. All the characters are very unique and different, and the art style is gorgeous. It's only about a 2-hour-long game, but it's very soothing and relaxing, so if you need that kind of experience, I highly recommend Donut County. And the last game I want to talk about is Life is Strange 2, Episode 1. I love this. I was a little apprehensive about how they would take the second season because the first season was so amazing and so well done, and with the second season I'm like, how are they going to pull this off? There's not going to be a time mechanic in this one, but they've handled it really well. The story is very prescient and topical, and it follows 2 brothers, and you're going across the country for reasons I won't spoil. And of course you make dialogue choices, you make choices regarding certain actions you can do in the environment which will affect your game later. And there are actually collectibles in this game, and the collectibles are hard to find. I only found a few, and there are multiple. So I definitely will have to replay the episode to get the rest of the collectibles. But I really like the direction they're going in so far, and I cannot wait to see how this pans out over the however many episodes there are going to be this season. So those are my September 2018 favorites. Let me know down below in the comment box what your favorites were in September. I know it's been a while, so please forgive me. If you like this video, leave a like, share the video if you liked it because that helps me out tremendously. If you're new here but you like what you've seen and heard, hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell so you'll always be alerted whenever I upload a new video. If you'd like to follow me on social media sites, they're all listed in the description box down below. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. You're always my favorite. Peace and kisses. Bye!